Greetings, welcome back to Pink Odd Bird. Today we're here to carry on with our junk journal challenge for this March of 2020 with the Collect Your Junk hashtag and a couple of others that I provided to you in the last video. So let's go ahead and get started. In the last video we began to prepare our signatures, and if you missed that video, I will link it down below. Well, actually, there's a playlist that I've created, so anybody who's participating along, those videos will be in the playlist as well, but you can also find part 1, episode 1, where we put these signatures together. And in that video, I said that we would come back this time and start working on the cover, but I was doing a little bit of thinking, and I was trying to figure out my cover, how do I want to do it, blah, blah, blah. And something was nagging at me and I couldn't figure out what it was. So I'm like, okay, I need to stop thinking about the cover and figure out what the problem is. So my brain is really incremental. I have to do things like this, 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 this. So I came back to thinking about the signatures and I'm like, I love the craft paper, but I think something is missing. What's missing? What is it? What is it? And I think I found the answer, and that is color. So I'm really used to using like a lot of like digital kits and scrapbook paper and fabric and all these pretty colors and of different, you know, stuff and things. And I feel like that's what's missing in here for me. And there are some of these like pages that I used as backgrounds when I was doing art for other projects. And there are a lot of craft pages in here because of what I've chosen to use as the base of my pages. So what I want to do with you today is get a little bit of color onto these pages, and I don't want it to be like a really like an arduous task or something that you have to really put a lot of thought into. I just want you to join me in putting a little bit of colors down on your page if you want to, if you prefer the look of having just plain backgrounds, which nothing is wrong with that. I mean, I probably will leave some of my pages with the craft background because I like that as well. That's totally fine. You don't have to add any color, but I do want to have some pages with some color because I feel like it would also kind of prompt me and inspire me as to what I want to put down on that page when we start putting the junk in the book. So I've just taken out some simple tools. So I have paints, and I've already shaken these off camera so you don't have to watch me make paint martinis. So I have a few paint colors. I don't have very many paints. Like, this is pretty much the extent of my paint. And I can mix these colors. I'm not worried about any of that. I've got the heat tool just to help speed up the process a little bit. I pulled out my stencils so we can maybe do a little bit of like color contrasting or pulling up some color with the stencils. If you don't have stencils, I also have like some of this stuff, and I forget the word every time, but it starts with a P. And you can use this as like a stencil. And if you don't have either one of these, you can also just use scraps from things that you've punched out. So I just had some scraps of punched out little elements here, and you can also use these like stencils. I pulled out my palette knife. If you don't have a palette knife, you can use a folded piece of cardstock, an old kind of gift card, anything that you can use to scrape paint along. And then I have this pen here that I was finished using. The ink is all run out, so we'll use this to make some little decorations in our paint. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to kind of free up a little bit of space for me here to open up my pages, because these pages are pretty big. And I do definitely want to thank everybody for the feedback that you left on my last video. I'm not done responding to comments yet, but I will get to it. So I think most of you said that you did like that video format, so I will try and continue making videos in that same format, which is basically real time and kind of like full process of what I'm doing. So I felt like adding the color to the pages would be a little bit better to do before we got the actual pages into the signatures. That's just me and my brain, but maybe you have a different opinion. I don't really know. So like I said, I'm not really pressed on this. I'm just going to start pouring out paints. I'm going to put a little bit of white out because that's going to help me like lighten and darken some of these lighten and darken some of these colors that we're putting out. And I have a pink. I thought I had a pink. Let me grab my pink paint. I don't really have a lot of space to store all of these, so I don't like to go overboard with buying paints and stuff like that. So to get started, I'm just gonna start putting paint down. And there's no real method for this, like I said. I just want to spread some colors around because we're probably going to end up gluing, you know, stuff over this. But I feel like it would be nice to have some cool like backgrounds to sort of look at. And I think it looks even cooler like that when the paint mixes up. It's really cool. What I also did off camera since the last video was I stitched around all of the pages that we're going to kind of like I just used my glue stick to glue closed last time. So those are all stitched together. So, and the cool thing about doing it like this also, I feel like, is it dries really fast. Like these paints are pretty much almost dry. So it's not going to take very long, but I did grab the heat gun just in case we want to speed that along. So, and if you end up putting too much paint down on yours, just take the next page in your signature and just sop up some of the paint like that. So let's see if there's any to soak up here. Not much, but a little bit. So, like I said, this one pretty much done. I'm okay with that. I might do a little bit on this side. This is a great way to use up some of your paints, like if you've got a lot of old paints, paints that you bought on clearance, paints that you never use. You can also use sprays. If you want to use sprays, that's totally fine. And I'm not going to use the palette knife for all of them, but since I have it out right now, we'll start switching it up in a second here. But I think this looks really cool already. I feel like it needed something. It was too plain Jane. Cool. So I could add something else over here. I think maybe focusing on the outer edges is a good idea too, just because we'll probably be gluing a lot of stuff in the centers, right? So like with our stencils, what we can do, say I have this little scrappy piece here. So I can put this down and I can take like some color, maybe just on my finger. You can use a sponge or whatever you want, but I kind of really like the look of everything just being really messy and organic. And that it is. Cool. So I'm okay with that. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. It's a junk journal after all. All right, so that's one page down. So I'm going to set this over to let it dry. And take our next page. And since this page is kind of wrinkly, it's kind of giving us some cool textures anyway. And you don't have to fill the whole page up with paint. All we want to do really is just get some color in the background. And I think having the white adds a little bit of cool, like, because you get varying degrees of the darker shades, so I think that's pretty cool too. So that's fine. This side we'll take what's on our sheet and just use the rest of this. It really dries fast. Maybe we'll take a little bit of yellow, and I do have some gold here. And we'll take the green and the black. Cool. Kind of like we're making our own scrapbook paper. In a way. In a sense. Okay. I like the palette knife because it's pretty fast and it covers a good amount of space quickly. Alright, so I'm cool with that. Alrighty. If you have like, well, maybe we should try, oh, I almost put that in my coffee. If you have like, what am I trying to say? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Oh my gosh. Oh, napkin scraps. Jeez. If you have napkin scraps, that's another, I'm switching over to the paintbrush. If you have napkin scraps, that's another thing that you can use to do some background on your pages. Cool. I love this. It's really fun. It's really relaxing. So I like the way that looks. And then we have our little pen, right? So you can take your, maybe this side works better, yeah. And do some background designs in the thicker parts of the paint. So that looks pretty fun. And maybe we'll leave this side kind of as is, because just to have some variety, we don't have to color every page. We don't have to cover every page with color. So I'm gonna leave this one kind of as is, and then this is our last page in the signature. So let's dig into some color. Ooh, that looks cool. I have so many colors on my paintbrush, which I love. You get some really neat looks. And you don't have to do just straight lines. Maybe we can do like something like this. Dark. Let's add some white to that. There we go. Now it's more like gray. Ooh, that looks cool. Let's take some of the gold, mix that with the gray, some of the turquoise. So now we have something other than just the straight lines. And then, like I said, we can take our pen and do some cool background. And I'm going to take the start of my next signature, press it in. So as you can see, this really is taking no time at all. Look how cool that is. And it picked up some of the squiggles. So I'm really happy with how that looks. So we'll set this one aside. Well, do we want to do the back side? Nah, let's just leave it. Okay, so that's the first signature. So we'll get into our next signature. So we already smushed this one. So we got a cool design there. Let's see, maybe we can do some like this. We'll do like this. Like this. And then we'll take another color and go in between. So that's another way we can get backgrounds, like so. It might look different for you if you have more colors than I do, but as you can see, even when you mix the colors, you get some cool backgrounds. So let's do this side. We'll stick with the paintbrush for now. I like the way that looks with the black. I'm just letting my brush run off to the colors that are over here, and it's picking up whatever I pick up. And it's actually making a really pretty design there too, but just fun little techniques that you can just try, you know. You never know what you'll get. And I think that's kind of the fun part about this. Maybe do some loops. Cool. All right, so I'll set this one aside to dry. All right, our next page, let's do some more white. Oh, we haven't done red. Red. We have bronze here. Let's do yellow. And maybe some black. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see what we get. I'm going to take a little bit of black and red. Ooh, it picked up some blue. I really like the red. I want more of that. I want more. So let's flip this. Ooh, red and white. I wonder what would happen if we take our palette knife and maybe we can scrape some other colors in. Cool. Who needs scrapbook paper? Not us. All right, this side. Let's do turquoise. I feel like that's gonna look good with yellow. So let's make it long and streaky, and we can cover a good deal of the page. From top to bottom. So even though I have very limited paint colors, I'm still able, like this green and this turquoise, or this turquoise and this yellow mixing is kind of making a green color that I don't have. So that's pretty cool. Making a mighty fine mess. Okay, so that is this one. This side's dry already. See how fast it dries? It doesn't take very long to do this. So I think we'll leave our next page, we'll leave it plain. And you can paint these little pieces too if you want to. It's totally fine. You see, it works just the same. Ooh, I like the way that looks. So, see, just a little paint. But you can paint over the whole thing if you want to. You don't have to. I'm just going to leave this mostly plain because we're probably going to cover up whatever's on here anyway. And let's see, 2 more pages. We'll leave this one how it is, a little food flyer. And let's do some black. And I'll pick up, I'm just going to pick up what's all here. White, bronze. Ooh, it looks cool with the pink. So that's kind of fun, and it actually leaves a good little negative there with the stitching that I did, so I think that's pretty fun. Pretty. Okie dokie. So we do have a back side. I think what we'll also try is maybe, since the paint is a little thick here, maybe what we can try doing is see if we can pull some up, maybe. Just gonna take the napkin and rub a little. See what we get. Well, not much. It was kind of drying. I have the window open next to me, so it's drying kind of fast. But that's okay, because what you could do is take a little bit of purple. Or another color, whatever you have. And see how this looks. Okay, so we have a design. Pretty cool. All right, so flip it over. And let's get some more colors. Let's do yellow and white and into green. Make a brighter page. Really interesting how it completely transitioned into gray, and I don't really know how that happened, but it's cool. I'm just going to blur these colors. There is no wrong way to do this, so I don't want you guys to feel like, oh, it doesn't have to look like what I'm doing. You can do whatever you want, really. This is kind of like a rainy day page. That's what it looks like. So pretty. Okay, so this paint was still here, so it went here, and then when I flipped it, the pattern printed over here. So cool with that. So set this aside. So I think that's the end of this signature as well. Okay, so let's move into the next page, or signature. So here we go. Now well, let me get this yellow, because that's what I wanted, is yellow. Yellow, yellow, yellow. You can wash your paintbrush off. You don't have to keep painting on top of paint if you don't want to. But I don't want to, it's not that I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Like, oh, I don't care about this, so I don't want to, it's not like that. I want to be like random, you know, like organic. I don't want to be so like precise on what I'm doing. Okay. So we have that. So maybe now we can take our stencil. You can use a sponge for this, probably is a smarter idea than using your finger, but I'm using my finger. And maybe I'll mix the colors a little. And I can blend them a little even. Ow, the stencil is so rattered and tattered. Okay, not terribly mad at it. I'm just gonna rub what's on here and get the residual paint off of there. That looks cool. Ooh, that looks cool. You see how that looks? Pretty neat. And then maybe over here. Let's see, I think all this is dry, mostly. Okay. Okay, I'm cool with that. It's not perfect, but I'm also not really using the stencil as it was completely intended. We'll leave this side plain. I'm gonna clean up my space here a little, just so that I can, you know, not get everything murky black. This is a non-stick mat. You can pick these up anywhere, really. I'll put one in my description box below, Amazon link. So if you guys are curious, or if you need one of these, but they're made so that nothing sticks to it. And literally nothing sticks to it. Like I hot glue on this thing, and I paint. I've used alcohol inks. I've used everything that you can think of, and nothing sticks to these. Okay. My napkin is dirty though. My napkin's very dirty. Oop. Okay. Cool. All right, moving on. We'll leave that. We'll leave these. Well, that one's, okay, we'll do this one. So I'm going to start with white. I think I'll go back to my palette knife for a little bit. Wash off the brush. I think it looks cool. It's just white. Kind of like a shabby. If you want to do all of yours in one color, that's totally fine. That's cool. Okay. Oops. All right, I'm cool with that. On this side, we'll do a little bit more white. Let's do yellow with it, maybe. and green. Okay, here we go. Some white, some green, some yellow, you can also spray through your stencils if you want to. Okay, I like this. Nice and bright colors. Cool. Okay. So we'll set this aside. So we'll leave that one. This one already has colors, and we'll leave the opposite side plain. So we'll do this one next. Oh, and that's the center. Okay. So we've got a little white, and maybe we'll add some, okay, purple since I touched it, and some of this. I like the way the colors look when you, ooh, and it's turning into like sort of seafoam. If you have a brayer, you can use your brayer. That also works. Oops. Oops a days. Let's make a color. And maybe a little bit of white. See what we get. It's gonna be like lilac. That's cool. It's a color we haven't seen yet. Okay. And I'll take my little doodler. I'm not putting the paint on terribly thick, so I guess I should act a little faster when I do this. But that's okay. Oh, oops, I got some more paint in here. Whoops, whoops. So we'll make a color with this. How about we add yellow to it, and what about gold? Okay, so this is turning really into seafoam. That's pretty. Okay, I like that. Good and well enough. Ooh, that's pretty. Alright, I'm going to take my other page and smush it and see if there's anything left over. Not much, but a little. That's cool. So we'll set this aside. And like I said, some of this is probably going to end up getting covered up. So how, you know, that's why I also kind of don't want you to spend a terrible amount of time on it, just because we might end up covering up some of this. Okay, last signature. So we've already done this. Maybe we can try this stuff and just run it through randomly. Ooh. pretty neat looking. Cool. And then since I've got paint on here, we'll just flip it over and rub the rest of that paint off. Cool. Pretty neat. So that's what we got. Okay, next we have another one of these. I'm just gonna it's kind of cool because there's colors on these already. So whatever you put on here is just kind of blending with it. All right. Okay, next one. Set this down. Let's get some more pink in maybe. But let's make it like a lighter pink. So let's add some white. It's kind of pink and, ooh, ombre purple. That's pretty. Oh, it looks like a unicorn. It's a unicorn page. You see, remember how I told you some of the pages, you never know what it could inspire you to think of? You just gotta try it out and see what you get. That's the law of the land. Ooh, I'm getting paint everywhere, you guys. Scoop up the rest of these. Scoop. Scoop at the rest. Ooh. All right. Unicorn and mermaid. Ah. Oh, let's do this side. Oh, I forgot to sew this one. That's okay. It's not sewn in the book yet, so we can still go back and do it. What do I want? Bronze? Bronze and red, maybe? And white. This is a pocket page, so I have to be kind of careful. See, these colors, the red, the bronze, and a little bit of purple that's in there, kind of reminds me of my geisha book. Really, all I just want is to be able to have some color that shows in the background. That looks interesting. You know, around whatever it is that we lay down on our page. Okay. So the next page, we're getting down to the wire here. We'll leave these as they are. This one too. So we'll just do the last page and then we'll be done. All right, so I'm gonna just use up what I have. Maybe we'll make a color. Let's add yellow to this and see what we get. It's like a sunset now. Ooh. Oh. That looks so pretty. It's like peach and pink. Oh my gosh, this is probably one of my favorites. goodness, you guys. I die. I die. Okay. And I'm way off the frame here. Okay. Let me clean up the mess. And then we'll come back and I'll show you what we've done. Okay, so here we have our signatures. All 4 of them. Look how pretty they look even from the side. So pretty. And I will do a quick flip through just so you can kind of see what I've done. And you can see like not every page is done. We have some pages that have traces. We've got the full pages. These I left as they were. So we've got some cool backgrounds here. So second signature. That little pattern. Oop. I'm going to finish letting these dry also. They're not all completely dry, which is okay. So there's that. Okay. So there's that one. And the next one, that crazy stenciling that we got. So these are going to be our background pages. So now, now that I feel better about this, what we'll do next is we'll get our signatures into a cover. Well, I guess we have to figure out the cover first. So that's probably what we'll do next. And we left some of these pages plain. So if you feel like when we're working through our book, if you feel like some of these pages need something, then you can always go in and add it. You know what I mean? So now that feels better to me. We have some color in there. It's got a little bit of personality to it, and I'm really happy with how these turned out. So your assignment, your homework this time is do a little bit of background coloring if you want to. If you don't want to do like some messy background like coloring like this, you can do maybe some stenciling or spraying or decoupaging, things like that. You can decoupage newspaper or something like that on your papers. I don't know, just get creative with whatever it is that you decide to do. That is going to wrap it up for me for now. Be sure to stay tuned because you never know what direction this odd flock of ours is heading into. And until next time, toodaloo.